As we did with the head, let's start talking about the proportions of the thorax before starting the modeling as well. Because as the head, we have some landmarks and some proportion rules that will help us to modeling the body. So for now, I will show to you all the landmarks and rules that will help you modeling the thorax. So that's the male body. It's image from the 3D SK that I bought. I have a bunch of images that I bought to learn about proportions and anatomy, and that's one of my images library. To start talking about the landmarks that will help you in the modeling, I will show the skeleton. The skeleton of the human body will give to us some important landmarks that will help us with the proportions. So let's talk about these landmarks in the front view. The first rule that I want to show to you is the proportions of the thorax using the head as reference. As you can see here, we have the chin line here with the end of the head. So our thorax, including the neck and going to the end part of the pelvis, you have 3 heads of height. And each head can give it to us a landmark. The first head you give to us the nipple line. In the bottom of the second head, we can find the belly button line. It's near of this region, and the end of the thorax will be on the bottom end of the third head as well. The width of the thorax, including the shoulder, you have almost 3 heads of width, or we can use these proportions here with the rotated head. So with the rotated head, we have 2 heads of width. This is a very important landmark in our body. It's the anterior superior iliac spine. This landmark is the bone that we can feel near the pelvis area on the front of the body. And to find him, we can use the proportion of two heads coming from the clavicle. And in the bottom end of the second head, we can find the line and position of the anterior superior iliac spine. Since this is a very big name to record, we can create a nickname that I used in these videos to show to you as hip bone front tip. Because the anterior superior iliac spine, it's this tip here in the hip bone. So every time that I say the name hip bone front tip, we can understand that I am talking about the anterior superior iliac spine. Okay? The another landmark in our body to help us get the best proportion for our character is the iliac crest. The iliac crest is this volume here as an arch coming from the hip bone front tip and going to the back of our character. This volume here is important because from here, the muscles of the butt, the oblique muscle linked here, and the tensor of fascia lata. That's the muscle that created this volume here. So, as you can see here, this is the position of the ribs and the thorax. We have the blue ribs are called as true ribs because they are independent, and the red ones are named as false ribs because they are like a bunch of trees. They are not unique. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 of these false ribs here. And as you can see in this image, they are here. The volumes, you appear here in the bottom part of the chest. And you can see the volume of the ribs here. And this aperture here, the angle is near of 90 degrees. This is a interesting shape of the rib parts because we have this flattened shape. If we get a real photo from the rib box, we can notice this flattened shape here, as you can see in the blue color. Now let's talk about the back of the character and the landmarks created by the bones in the back of the body. We can start with the rule of the 3 heads that we used in the front of the character. This is the chin line in the back view. In the bottom end of the first head, we can find the shoulder blade line here. So the shoulder blade line and the nipple line are in the same position. And the second head, we can find the sacrum line. And the sacrum is the triangle here. It's a little bit lower of this line with 2 little holes here. And as we talked about the hip bone front tip, in the back we have this tip here. And the name of these 2 holes here are posterior superior iliac spine. So as I created a nickname for the hip bone front tip, I will create a nick for this point here. And so the posterior superior iliac spine will be named hip bone back tip to help us. And the final line, it's the pelvis line in the end of the third head. We can notice here the chin line and the C7 are almost in the same position. Finally, we can find the great trochanter. Great trochanter is this tip in the femur. As you can see, it's a little bit lower than the pelvis line. And the position of the greater trochanter is important because all the muscles of the butt will be linked to the greater trochanter. So the muscles will be coming from the iliac crest and linking to the greater trochanter. As you can see here, the iliac crest here coming from the front, creating this arch here. And these muscles you link it from the iliac crest and link it to the greater trochanter. So this is the maximum gluteus and the medium gluteus. Now let's take a break about these proportions and see you in the next video about the muscles volumes.
学习过程中还